Have you ever wondered why, even when you swear it's the last time, you always end up going back to it? You feel the shame, the emptiness, the regret, and still, somehow, you find yourself back on that same site, in that same loop, telling yourself just one more time. But it never really is one more time, is it? What if I told you that the reason you haven't quit porn yet has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with a war happening inside your mind that most people don't even know they're fighting? What if I told you that there's a hidden mechanism, a psychological trap designed to keep you hooked, one that feeds on your loneliness, your stress, your pain, and especially your silence? You see, this isn't just about addiction. It's about emotional anesthesia. It's about the quiet ways we avoid facing the truth about ourselves. And the cost of that avoidance? Most people think porn is just a bad habit, something dirty they should feel guilty about. That guilt, it's part of what keeps you stuck. There's a secret most people never learn. Shame doesn't heal you, it chains you. And the truth is, porn doesn't begin on the screen. It begins in the moments you feel alone, invisible, disconnected. It begins in the wounds you were never taught how to heal. This video is not here to judge you. It's here to wake you up, to reveal the psychological and emotional chains keeping you bound to something that is silently stealing your energy, your confidence, your focus, and your sense of self. In the next few minutes, we're going to uncover 5 powerful truths about porn that no one ever told you. We'll break down the emotional patterns you've been repeating without realizing it, and you'll discover that quitting porn is not about becoming someone else. It's about finally becoming yourself. If you've ever looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, I know I'm meant for more than this, you're right. And if you stay until the end, I'll share something with you that could change the way you see yourself forever. A shift in perspective so deep, you'll wonder how you ever missed it. So take a deep breath, let everything else. Wait, you're not just watching a video, you're stepping into the beginning of your healing. The answers are closer than you think. No one wakes up wanting to be addicted to porn. No one dreams of hiding behind a screen, alone, chasing a feeling that disappears the second it's over. And yet so many of us are stuck in this loop, not because we're weak, but because we're wounded. Let's be honest. Most people don't even know why they watch it. They think it's for pleasure. But if that were true, why do you feel worse afterward? Here's the truth. Most people won't tell you. Porn isn't about pleasure. It's about pain relief. Behind every urge, there's a feeling we're trying to escape. It could be loneliness, stress, fear of failure, feeling like you're not enough. When you were a child, who taught you how to sit with pain? Who showed you how to process shame or rejection or the ache of not being seen? Chances are, no one did. So you did what most of us do. You found something that numbed it. Something fast, easy, available. And in a world where vulnerability is seen as weakness, porn becomes a secret escape, a moment of control in a life that often feels out of control. But here's the catch. Every time you escape the pain instead of facing it, you give that pain more power. Think about that. The more you run from it, the more it grows in the background, shaping your thoughts, your relationships, your confidence. And here's where it gets even deeper. Your brain starts to associate porn with safety. Not excitement, safety. Quick fix when emotions feel too heavy becomes your emotional crutch. And that's why quitting feels so hard. Because without it, you're suddenly face to face with feelings you've been avoiding for years. But here's the good news. And it is good news. What if the urge wasn't the enemy? What if it was actually a message, a signal from your deeper self saying, hey, there's something inside me that needs healing? When you learn to sit with that urge to feel it without feeding it, you begin to reclaim your power. Not because you're resisting temptation, but because you're finally listening to the pain you to run from. That's how true healing begins. And when you realize that porn was never the problem, it's just the symptom, you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. That's the first real step toward freedom. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed how hard it is to focus lately? How little things feel overwhelming? How your motivation fades quickly? How real intimacy feels awkward or even uncomfortable? That's not a coincidence. Neuroplasticity, your brain adapting to the environment you're feeding it. Every time you watch porn, your brain gets flooded with an unnatural spike of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. Not just a little boost, but a massive, artificial surge that real life can't compete with. Over time, your brain becomes desensitized. That means what once excited you doesn't anymore. You need more intense content, more novelty, more shock, just to feel something. This isn't about morals. It's mechanics. You've been unknowingly training your brain to crave instant gratification, detachment, and control. Not connection, patience, or emotional presence. And here's where it gets dangerous. When you stop finding joy in small things, when real relationships feel dull or difficult, when your goals seem boring next to the high you get from a screen, you begin to lose yourself. And that's not your fault. It's your brain. It's doing what it was trained to do. But here's the miracle of neuroplasticity. If it can be wired one way, it can be rewired another. You are not stuck. But to change your brain, you must change your patterns. That means choosing boredom over stimulation, stillness over chaos, depth over speed. It won't feel natural at first, because it isn't. You've spent years on autopilot, years reinforcing a reward system that favors escape over effort. But healing begins when you stop negotiating with the part of you that just wants to feel good now, and start building the version of you that wants to feel free forever. This is more than quitting porn. It's reclaiming your attention, your energy, and your power to shape your own mind. And when you understand that every moment of discomfort is your brain healing, you stop fearing the withdrawal and start welcoming the transformation. Let's go deeper, because this isn't just about biology or behavior. This is about identity. What happens when something you've used to cope, escape, and survive is no longer there? Who are you without that late-night scroll? Who are you when you're not numbing, distracting, or avoiding? It's a terrifying question, because for so long, porn has filled in the gaps. When you were anxious, it gave you a rush. When you were rejected, it gave you control. When you felt invisible, it made you feel desired, even if only for a moment. But here's the secret that keeps so many people stuck. Your brain fears losing the identity you've built around the habit, even if that identity is hurting you. There's a part of you that doesn't believe you can be free. A voice whispering, "This is just who you are. You'll always come back." That voice is lying, but it sounds real because it's familiar. You've been taught to believe that quitting porn is about willpower, but the real battle is internal. It's about breaking up with the version of you that thinks they're not enough without it. Because, let's be honest, porn didn't just give you dopamine, it gave you a story. A story where you didn't have to be vulnerable, where nothing was ever asked of you, where you were in control, even if the rest of your life felt chaotic. But control isn't connection. Safety isn't satisfaction. And the story you've been living in is not the one you were born to tell. To quit porn, you don't just delete a habit, you build a new identity. That identity starts with truth, with looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm not broken, I'm becoming." It grows with discipline, not as punishment, but as devotion to the version of you who's waiting on the other side. And most importantly, it demands that you face the question you've avoided for too long. What do I actually want to feel when I'm no longer numbing everything I fear? That's when healing becomes transformation. That's when your past stops defining you. That's when you begin to write a new story, not built on escape, but on purpose. The war was never about porn. It was about your identity. And now, you're finally ready to choose who you truly are. Let me tell you something you've probably never been told. Quitting porn isn't the finish line, it's the doorway. It's what happens after you quit that really matters. Because once the noise stops, the silence begins. And in that silence, something sacred happens. You start hearing yourself again. Not the version of you shaped by shame or addiction, but the real you, the one buried under years of guilt, habits, and pretending. You see, most people think freedom is about resisting something, but real freedom is about replacing it. Because the truth is, if you remove porn, but don't rebuild what was broken inside, emptiness comes back. And so does the urge. This is the part no one talks about. the emotional architecture of your life must change. You need to find new rituals, not just to distract yourself, to deeply nourish your soul. You need to reconnect with your body, not through lust, but through presence, to movement, stillness, breath. You need to relearn how to experience stress without running, loneliness without shame, desire without distortion. Start small. Wake up and make your bed not because it's impressive, but because it tells your brain, I care about the space I live in. Exercise not to punish yourself, but to release the energy that used. To feed the habit, meditate not to become calm, but to become familiar with your own inner world. Find a project that matters to you, something to pour your time and energy into that leaves you feeling fulfilled, not drained. Build connections with real people, ones where you're not pretending, not performing, not hiding. And when the urge comes, and it will, don't panic, welcome it. Observe it, and remember, it's not a command. It's a message. A message that says, something inside me needs love right now, not escape love. And maybe for the first time in your life, you'll learn how to respond. With compassion instead of control. You are not your urges. You are not your past. You are the awareness behind them, the part of you that's awake now, watching, choosing, becoming, and every time you choose healing over hiding, connection over compulsion, purpose over pleasure, you come back home to yourself. This is the path of return. And you don't have to walk it alone anymore. If you're still here, I want you to pause for a second and recognize what you've just done. You stayed. You didn't click away. You faced something most people run from for their entire lives. That makes you rare in a world that numbs, avoids, and escapes. You chose to look inward, to ask hard questions, to search for something more. That is courage. You might not see it yet, but this decision to stay until the end is a victory. Because you didn't just watch a video, you entered into a deeper part of yourself. That's where all true transformation begins. Be proud of that. Be really proud. Because very few people have the strength to sit with their pain instead of covering it up. But you just did. And if this message resonated with you, if you felt even for a second that I was speaking directly to you, that's because I was. Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of understanding. Because I've been there. And I know the way out isn't paved with shame. It's built with patience and truth, and the bravery to start again, even if you've failed 1,000 times. Now, I want to ask you for something. If you made it to the end of this journey, comment below with this phrase, I choose to return to myself. Let that be your declaration, line in the sand. A quiet but powerful message to the universe and to yourself that says, I'm done hiding. I'm done escaping. I'm ready to become who I truly am. By commenting that, you're not just showing others you stayed, you're affirming that you are part of something greater. A movement of people who refuse to let old habits define their future. And if you know someone, even one person, who feels lost, numb, ashamed, or tired of living in secret, share this with them. Because healing spreads. Lights another, the light multiplies. Maybe you are the spark someone else needs to start again now. If you're not subscribed yet, ask yourself why. Are you still doubting that this journey is for you? Still thinking you'll figure it out alone? But what if alone is exactly what's kept you stuck? What if every time you ignore this kind of content, you're silently telling yourself, I'm not worth the help? It ends today. If you're subscribed, know this. You're not just a viewer, you're a seeker. Someone who chose not to walk alone anymore. Someone who said, yes, I want to grow. Keep watching. The videos on this channel, they're not just entertainment, they're emotional nutrition. Each one is part of a bigger picture, a roadmap for healing, clarity, and inner strength. And before you go, don't just click away. Let the music play. Let it wash over you. Close your eyes for a few moments and breathe. Breathe like you just opened a door inside yourself that's been locked for years. And repeat this to yourself, quietly like a promise. Thank you, universe, for another day. May my mind be firm, my heart at peace, and my steps guided by purpose. Today I choose to grow. Stay with that feeling. Let it root itself in your soul. because this isn't just the end of a video, it's the beginning of you. Welcome back.